This case will leave you speechless. A Marine hero turned DUI killer. Two innocent women gone forever. Watch closely as the defense fights to explain the unexplainable. This isn't just tragedy, it's heartbreak in real time. Let's step inside the courtroom.
I have received from the state a couple of notebooks with letters of support and information. I have reviewed those. Have you had an opportunity to do that as well?
I have not, but we have no objection.
Okay, thank you.
I only want to confirm that the letters from my client's wife and children and his pastor, his church, and other church members were included in the PSI. They were included in my copy. I just want to make sure.
Yes,
And I saw those in the video.
they were, and I've reviewed those as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Obviously, we're here for the sentencing of Mr. Gomez on these very serious charges. I want to point out some contextual evidence that came out through the investigation by the district attorney's office and by our office. But I want to be clear, this is not an attempt to excuse his behavior. It's not intended to do anything other than give the court some context that led to this particular tragedy. This entire thing began with a work-related gathering. Mr. Gomez had been in Beaumont only about a month, working for one of the construction pipeline companies, unfamiliar with the area. There was an invitation to go to these different restaurants and places by his supervisors. He felt compelled to go. The report by DPS highlights they spoke to several witnesses who were co-workers who said this was kind of an after-work gathering where they all went. Of course, once the companies realized the magnitude of what had happened, next slide please, they quit cooperating. Basically, no one would talk to DPS, no one would talk to our investigators. They kind of circled the wagons. I think that lends some credence to the fact that this was something that the companies did encourage the employees to do. The entire matter was investigated by the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission. And the first place they went, go back please, was Darla's Taqueria here in town. And from the TABC report, which is introduced into evidence as part of the plea, next slide, they made a determination that Darla's Taqueria had grossly overserved Mr. Gomez, and that it was contrary to basically any public sense of decency. Next slide. The next place they went for the TABC report was Temptations Cabaret. The report details, next slide, the enormous number of drinks he was served, including one where he was served 5 shots at the table and seen to fall down by the waitress, and she still served the drinks at the table. They determined that they had clearly overserved an intoxicated person. The big question here that I had when we began this case is, how did he end up going on the southbound on the northbound lane of 69? And he was staying at the time at the AAA RV Park, which is located down here on, I believe it's Old Port Arthur Road. And his route of travel would have taken him from Temptations Cabaret down through that, I believe exiting and going down Old Port Isabel Road. Next slide. Obviously, he missed that exit and he came down, and there's another way that you can go down 69 southbound to likewise get back to the RV park, and that was his plan at the time. Next slide. The problem is, and soon after we looked at this and investigated it, and they had the GPS data from his phone, he exited, he turned down Martin Luther King, and he came to an area where he would have gotten on the ramp to go up to the southbound lanes of 69. But, next slide, there was this side. One more slide closer. Right there on the ramp, it said road closed. Now, I believe what they meant to say was lane closed, and they wanted you to go around that and get on 69. But when he was confronted with this road closed sign, he took a left, which is what the detour sign seemed to indicate, went down, and then got on the exit ramp for the northbound headed southbound. And it's common here. I've seen it in several places where they have divided what were one-way service roads into two ways, and he assumed that was what happened. Of course, that led him on to the southbound, going southbound and northbound. That's how he got there. Next time.
The lawyers painting him as a good man, a Marine, a father, a community leader, but behind all that, 2 lives lost. Can a lifetime of good undo one night of destruction? The judge will decide that, and her face says it all.
South North is I want to congratulate the probation department here in Jefferson County. They did an incredible, very thorough, and I think very even-handed and fair pre-sentence report. But a little bit about who Salvador Gomez is that came out through the report. Next slide. He was a military veteran. He was served in the United States Marine Corps, was honorably discharged. Next slide. He's always worked. He graduated high school in '91. He attended the police academy in 1992. He was a deputy sheriff in Cameron County until he had an off-the-job injury where part of one of his fingers was amputated and he could no longer continue as a deputy sheriff. At the time of this, he was employed by ExxonMobil as a piping superintendent. He's been confined to a wheelchair since this incident. He's had tremendous injuries. He's going to suffer from those injuries probably for the rest of his life. Next slide. And as the PSI points out, that something we would ask the court to consider is that does reflect some personal consequence for his actions in this particular case. The PSI and everything we see indicates that he's a very stable, loving father and husband. He's been married since 2001 to the same woman. He has 4 children.
Service, sacrifice, and pain, all true. But accountability doesn't disappear with rank. Everyone respects his duty, but no one can ignore the damage done. This courtroom isn't about medals. It's about 2 women who never came home.
He active in his church. There were several letters of support from his pastor and from other members of the congregation included in the PSI. Next slide. The probation officer noted that he thinks of the victims daily. He knows their names and has a personal connection because one of them is in very close age to his own children and another shares the same birthday as his daughter. Those are things we'd like the court to consider from the PSI, and we'll have a closing argument later. Thank you.
Today calls Christopher Stack.
Good morning, sir. If you'll please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
You married?
I was
When were you married?
about 1.5 years ago.
When was the last time that you heard from her?
I believe I fell asleep around probably 11 or 12.
And had she texted you at that point?
Yes, sir. The last text I believe was that she was coming home to see me soon and that she loved me.
In the early morning, June 14th of last year, did you realize something was wrong?
I woke up and it was probably, I want to say 1:30 or so. I can't remember the timestamps, but I woke up and she hadn't texted for a while. I had a location on my phone.
And so at that point when you woke up, did you expect her to have been home by then?
Yes, sir.
Was that unusual for her to have been out that late with her friends?
Never.
You stated you could follow her location on your phone. Were you able to do that?
I was, but she had her in front of the prison or the jail for like an hour or so when I looked and saw that. Maybe it was an hour, I can't remember for sure, but
But it wasn't moving, was it?
it wasn't moving.
So what did you do?
I immediately threw clothes on and got on the road
And you're driving from where?
from Beaumont.
As you got close, did you realize something bad had happened?
Yeah, so when I turned that curve going on 69, I saw a lot of,
You saw lights?
Yeah, I saw the lights.
Chris, when you pulled up, could you tell there had been a car crash?
I knew there was something wrong.
Can you tell Judge what you did see when you pulled up?
I couldn't see much because it was the median was in the way, but I turned around the underpass and I saw there was a cop that stopped me. I guess he was directing traffic. And I asked him, I said, "Has there been a wreck?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "My wife, her location is right there." And so he let me through. I drove through and I was stopped about probably 100 yards from the spot of the accident. And I couldn't remember exactly what was asked or what I said, but they basically told me, I showed them my phone, I showed them the location, and they couldn't even tell who it was or who was in the vehicle or anything because the bodies were just.
There was a burning car at the
Yeah.
scene, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And from that car, there were no survivors, were there?
Yeah, they took them. I believe they took them weeks to find out who it was.
But was it ultimately identified to be your wife?
Yes, sir.
Lauren Stacks.
Yes, sir. She was in the passenger seat.
This is a dumb question, Chris, and I'm sorry to ask it. What's this done to you?
It's affected me in every single aspect of my life.
How long had y'all been married before she did?
Only 19 days.
You can feel the pain in their voices, every word, a lifetime of loss, weddings that never happened, birthdays that never came. The courtroom falls silent. No defense can soften this grief. This is justice at its rawest.
I'm sorry you have to be here, Chris. I'm sorry all these people that are in your courtroom have to be here. You and I spoke about this case, the legal side of it, and what can possibly happen. What are you asking Judge West to do today?
I think the only thing that can be done is the maximum sentence. I think that's the only way that any kind of healing can be done. From just on my end and from the 1,000 lives that were affected by this senseless tragedy.
Thank you, Chris. I'll pass it to Sharon.
Any questions? Thank you.
Back in June of 2024, were you engaged to be married?
Yes, sir, I was.
And who are you engaged to be married to?
Camille Marty.
And how did you meet Camille?
I met Camille right during COVID at a church conference in Sebastopol, Mississippi. She was from North Carolina. I was from Beaumont, Texas, so it was a pretty unlikely meetup, in the middle of nowhere, Sebastopol, Mississippi.
And I take it y'all hit it off.
We did. It's a hilarious story that I was in the altar in the worship service, and she was in the altar in the worship service, and we saw each other in the altar, and we probably made eye contact 20 times in the worship service in the altar. And after service, I made sure to say hi to her.
And at what point did y'all become engaged and married?
We got engaged in March of 2024.
And you are friends with Christopher Stacks, correct?
Yes, sir.
And y'all had this friendship, and both were starting your families together at the same time. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did you find out that Camille had been killed?
I was asleep, and my dad busted into my room, and it was about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I remember waking up, and he just said, "The girls got in an accident." And my first thought was that they had to be okay. There was no way something like that could happen. And I immediately asked, are they okay? What hospital are they at? You know, what ER are they in? And all my dad could say was, they didn't make it. And all I could say was no. Just no, no. And I jumped out of bed and I still just couldn't believe it. There's no way. And I got dressed as fast as I could and I ran downstairs and I didn't know what I could do. I thought there was something maybe I could do. And my dad just told me, he said, Bubba, there's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you can go. Can't do anything.
And since this has happened, how's it affected you, Boston?
The judge's eyes say everything. Sympathy ends where consequences begin. One decision and two futures vanished. The weight of justice is heavy today. Every second of silence feels like a sentence itself. This is the moment of truth.
I had begun building my life with Camille and my life plans and our life that we were building together, and we had just begun to build together, was just taking off. And the one thing that I thought I had done right in my life was deciding to marry Camille. And with that gone, I feel so lost in like this life that I was supposed to have has been taken away from me.
I'm asking the same question that I asked Chris. What do you want to see happen here today?
A hero's fall, a family's heartbreak, and a courtroom forever changed. Tell us what you think. Was justice served? Hit subscribe for more real courtroom stories.